Welcome to Mission Imperfect, the podcast about finding your own path, your own way, and embracing the imperfection of the journey.
We're your hosts, life coaches, former HR professionals, and mums, Kirsty and Catherine.
We love to discuss the topics that come up time and time again for our coaching clients and which affect us all, from things like acceptance and boundaries to values and well-being and everything in between.
Each episode ends with a question for you and us to reflect on. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to grab a cuppa and a biscuit and join us in getting lost in finding ourselves. Hello and welcome to this week's Mission Imperfect. Now, we hear quite a lot about rules for life, and Catherine has come up with a rather different take on this. So, if you're not a big fan of the rules, this one could be for you. Tell us about your take on it, Catherine.
Well, yeah, I know rules for life sounds catchier, doesn't it, than guidance, but I thought in keeping with how our approach has always been, we're not really strict followers of rules or saying you have to do things a certain way. I thought people might wonder, where are we going if we start saying this is what you have to do, because we've never said that before. Um, so yeah, and when it comes to rules, it gets a bit tricky because who wrote them? Are they always right? Are they always applicable? What if you don't follow them? What happens? Will it matter? So I thought, well, let's do a little idea of sort of guidance for life that I think, to be honest, most of us would do quite well to consider. And hopefully it will become clear when we start. We've come up with five, not rules, five. There isn't a nice word. Guidance is, it doesn't exist, does it? For life.
It does now.
Yes. We like to invent new words, don't we? We've done it a few times over
Absolutely.
our
In the,
past
in
year
the
of
best
recording.
Shakespearean tradition, yes.
Yes, yes. But we thought, there are certain things that might be helpful for most people to consider and interpret. That's the point. They're not sort of hard and fast. There isn't like a right answer and a wrong answer to it. It's a,
Hmm,
what does this mean for me? And that's something we've always said, haven't we, as we've gone along in this
absolutely.
podcast? What does this mean for me in my situation and my circumstances?
Yeah. And I mean, we're not the only ones who think this way. In Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously a deep and meaningful film, um,
Yep.
when when Elizabeth refers to the Pirates Code at one point, tries to get it used in her um, to her benefit, Barbarossa sort of turns to her and says it's more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I like that.
I think that's what we're coming at, isn't it? In keeping with our whole Mission Imperfect ethos, that we don't believe there is a clear set of hard and fast rules that will always work, but there are things that will help guide us through life, and maybe they'll change in, as time goes on and in different contexts.
Yeah, absolutely. And so our first one, unsurprisingly,
Oh, yes.
is this idea that we should question the rules put in quotation marks, because we've probably spoken about them in a previous episodes about some sort of unwritten rules that are
Mm.
seemingly in existence that we internalize and we apply to ourselves. So I don't literally mean like a board games set of rules, but you want to make up your own modified version, that's also cool.
And
But
who
just
hasn't
these
done that?
things, yeah, yes, exactly. Shortcut the game. um, but yeah, those unwritten rules that we've been accepted that we don't always have to. So things like, oh, I've invested in this career path and therefore it's one I must follow until retirement, for
Mm.
example. That's sort of like an unwritten rule, or that you do things in a certain order, or that by certain stages in life you have attained certain things. These are sort of unwritten rules. It's like, well, actually, do I want those to apply to me?
Absolutely. It's it's what's lurking behind all the shoulds that keep popping up, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
whenever we catch ourselves in a should, there is some idea of a rule behind it, of what we're supposed to do, how we are supposed to live our lives based on, everything that we've taken in from around us and from other people, from society, from those closest to us. I think I think we talked a lot about this in the values episode, didn't we? The things we absorb from around us subconsciously and then that create a framework we're not even aware of, but it keeps popping up in those shoulds.
Yeah. We did a whole episode on should, and I'm just wondering if it
We
was in
did,
that
didn't
episode.
we? Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been in that one that I even referred to being a rule breaker because I never have been. I was very much. Do you remember us talking about this, Kirsty? I remember
Yes.
saying I was always someone who kind of was good, for want of a better expression, followed the rules at school,
Mm.
did the things that you were supposed to do. Because let's be honest, in school, you're in a very conditioned environment of rules, aren't you? You don't, you attend on time, you go to your lessons, you submit your homework on time. Those are the rules. And I think I carried that forward for many, many years. And I'm not blaming it. I'm just saying I'm much more aware of it now because the rules become a lot looser when you're older, but I hadn't realized that. It took me
Mm.
until I was 39 to realize I might want to do something different. And I just thought, oh, there isn't a rule book that I'm carrying around that says that I can't. And I hadn't really appreciated that. So I think questioning the rules is a really good first guidance note for life.
Absolutely. And when you question them, you might come back thinking, yeah, actually, I like that. Questioning the rules doesn't mean forcing yourself to break them because you think you should. Getting into a little bit of a
Yes.
vicious circle here, aren't we? Um, Questioning the rules is about assessing whether they work for you or not. And if they do, great, have every rule you like if it works for you. But be aware that it might not always work for you. What worked for you in the past might not work now, just in different contexts and around different people. And in when your energy's at different levels, different things are going to work. So don't get caught into that how things should be and what you should
Yeah.
be doing.
I
Question them.
think what we've landed on, Kirsty, and we haven't written this as one of our rules for life, but ask questions, ironically, probably should have been one of them because that's something that you and I probably both do naturally now as coaches. I don't know about you, but I find
Yeah.
questions pop up for me all the time. And
Yes.
I actually see it as a positive thing, not just a like I'm being nosy or I want more information. It is sometimes that as well, though, if I'm being completely honest. But actually, I don't just go we've spoken about this before, straight to acceptance. It's
Mm,
what's going on first. Like I said at the start, who says, is it always applicable? What if I don't? What if I do something different? And all of those kinds of questions, you could still land on actually, yes, I like this one. I am gonna follow
mm,
this.
yeah.
Or the opposite. I'm going to do something different, and that's okay.
Yes. So maybe our first guidance is kind of question brackets the rules.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Question everything, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't
Okay,
trust
let's move on.
anything.
Yeah.
Number two.
Right. Yeah, number two. So we spoke about this before in our episode about life chapters, which I absolutely love. I'm a huge fan of this, and I'm mentoring a new one myself. But this is about you are the author and the protagonist in your life story. So you can shape the
Mm,
next chapter. You can even maybe decide that a chapter is coming to an end and start the new one sooner than perhaps you anticipated because you're making changements, assessments, perhaps from rule number one, questioning the rules. What do I still perhaps want anymore? And it isn't just one neat, logical, sequential novel. Again, that
no.
took me a really long time to realize. It's lots of little stories put together. And whilst there's so much in life that we can't control, it doesn't mean we're powerless. And especially when it comes to the most important thing, which is ourselves. We
Mhm.
choose things that matter, how we want to be with people. Yes, things are going to happen around us that we can't influence, but we can then choose how to respond and have a lot more
Yes.
agency than perhaps we think. And I think shaping your next chapter is actually quite exciting. It may not last forever. It may be a short chapter. It may be even something you're anticipating is bridging a gap until the next one. But it's always
Mm,
about maybe some small moves as well. It doesn't always have to be big leaps. A chapter doesn't mean I only have a new life chapter when something monumental is happening, like getting married or having a baby or something like that. It can be small movements and shifts. And before you realize it, you look back and think, wow, look how far I have moved from where I was.
Yes, I mean the idea of, the book of our lives as a collection of short stories rather than a cohesive, coherent novel is quite appealing, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
They
I mean,
don't
who
they don't
gets that?
have to link up.
Yeah. Or, for some people, they might have
Yeah,
genuinely had like a desire for a certain career path from a very young age and pursued it, and that became their life's work. But it's not just about work anyway, is it? It's all of
no.
the other elements and ingredients that go in. And I think it's because we have lack of control over so many things that we're going to have interesting chapters and interludes and characters that come in. We spoke about all of this in that episode on life chapters, but we
Yeah,
don't have to just get swept along for the ride. That's what I mean about author and protagonist. Yes, you are the main character in your life. Other people will come and go, but can't escape yourself. I'm afraid you have to put up with yourself.
indeed, yes.
But
Yeah,
you're
I
going to be
mean,
shaping.
yeah, we can't determine how our lives turn out in every detail. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of choices we can make and things we do get to influence. But the only thing we can rely on determining is how we show up and then experience our own lives. Our response to whatever's happening and the choices we make are always ours. So when you take responsibility for that in a way, isn't it? It's both quite
Mm.
powerful to know that, but it's not just a right, it's a responsibility to recognize that you do have that power and you can use it. You don't have to sit around waiting for somebody else to make things right, or saying that you can't move on, you can't be happy, you can't do X, Y, Z until something else has happened, until someone else has done something or changed or
Mm.
done what you want them to. You don't have to give away control of your life.
No. Okay. Should we move on to number three?
Let's.
Yeah. Okay. So, third one is about being curious because there is more than what you see and what you know. Probably sounds really obvious, doesn't it? But I think we can all be guilty of having a bit of tunnel vision because, after all, we're experiencing lives from our own perspective. It's not our fault. We can't change that. It's like I'm inside my head, you're inside your head. We will see things differently. But if you combine that with our nature to be quite hard on ourselves, I think we that's something we've acknowledged throughout the series that people can be quite tough on themselves.
Yeah.
We can put limits on what is possible for ourselves. So it's a kind of a double whammy. We're experiencing life just from our perspective and we're being quite tough on ourselves. Suddenly that tunnel has perhaps become a bit narrower than it need to be because there is more out there. And I'm not, we've both changed careers, haven't we, completely? And we may
Hmm.
not have seen that coming. I remember discovering coaching a little bit by accident, if I'm completely honest.
Same.
I was like, wow, I didn't know about this and I love
Mm.
this. And it was like opening the door to another world. Not in a sort of like ET type sense. Just like didn't know about this, but I want to be part of it. There's always more out there that we can learn about and draw upon and experience.
Yeah, so true. And I think a slightly different aspect of that is being curious about what light that might cast on the behavior of others too. If we're all in our own little tunnel vision worlds, tunnels, I don't know, um, then that can create a very different sort of understanding of how other people are behaving and their reasons perhaps for doing something or being the way they are, which might make us feel a bit better or, I don't know, less badly treated.
Mm.
And there's not knowing what's out there. I think so often when things are going wrong, when things are not how you want them to be, or you're going through something difficult, it is very natural and very easy to find yourself in that position of thinking, I don't know how to get through this. Nothing is ever going to be okay ever again. And you let all that stress build up, and you go into that huge overthinking circling mode in your head, trying to find the way out and how you're going to make it better, and you can't. But there is more than what we see and what we know. Every other crisis we've experienced, every other difficult time we've got through, even though we didn't know how we would.
Yeah. Yeah. I call it the all I see is all there is
Yeah.
approach, because you get that little bit stuck. And because you can't see something, you think, therefore, there isn't a solution out there, but there will be. It's just that we haven't found it yet, or perhaps spoken to somebody that might
Hmm.
open a door for us. I mean, I liken it a bit to, when you were at school and they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you often say things like, well, a singer, a teacher, a policeman. They're the careers that you know about. And
Yeah.
yet look at all the people that you know and the careers that they have. They're not in those typically defined categories that we can label so clearly when we're younger. There are so many more opportunities out there.
So
Goodness knows what
right.
opportunities are coming around the corner with AI as it is. It's going to be very interesting to see what careers are open to the next generation. I find it slightly scary, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole we could be going down, isn't there? But I mean, I ended up spending most of my corporate working life um, in MIS, which most people don't know what it is, heard of it. And I certainly hadn't at school, and I had no idea it's something I'd be doing, but it's management information systems. It's working with data and systems and processes. And if that had been suggested to me at school, firstly, I'd have gone, what? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And secondly, I wouldn't really have understood what it meant and what it was, and I couldn't have seen myself there. It just wouldn't have felt right. And yet I fell into it and it suited me very well and opened up a whole different understanding in me of my strengths and capabilities and what I'm good at, purely by chance.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting? We've both spoken about falling into careers. I too fell into HR by a bit of a sort of happy accident. Didn't
Hmm.
didn't plan it, but it was something that I thought, oh, actually, I do enjoy this. And it then led me towards, I think, ultimately coaching. Who knows what else might have come my way had I not started with that first door opening in HR. So yeah, I think there's so much out there that we can still explore and find out about, even when we might be feeling a bit defeated or limited. I think just
Yeah.
appreciating that there is probably more out there. Some of it may not like. That's the other thing. You don't have to like it all that's out there.
Absolutely
I'll be
not.
honest,
No.
Kirsty, this management information systems, my eyes slightly glaze over. To
Most
me, that
people's
means
do, I find. Yes.
it means wrestling with technology, and I have very much a love-hate relationship with technology.
It's about understanding how things work and getting what you want out of them, which I think has a huge correlation to coaching.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, so guidance number 4. I think this one's very appropriate. There will be bumps in the road, no matter what you do or who you are.
Oh, yes.
So I just
Amen
think
to that.
acknowledging, yet that it's universal. Okay, you're not being singled out for the bumps in the road. We all, we're all going to have them, and they're not necessarily because of consequences of decisions that you've made either. No matter what decision you make at some point in your life, there's still going to be bumps in the road. No one gets to breeze through
No.
life with no loss, no adversity, and no challenges. And I tell you what, something that highlighted this to me recently, I was watching a TV series with celebrities. I don't often do that. But it was a very different kind of series. It was celebrity SAS. So they take celebrities and put them through SAS training, which is really quite brutal.
Mhm.
But what's interesting is you think you know a little bit about some of these celebrities, and at some point during the training, and it's really brutal, they're opening up about bumps that they've had in their paths to date. And you realize no one is immune. No matter what you see of people, I think we've spoken about this before. We see people are successful and therefore forget to perhaps acknowledge bumps in the road that they've inevitably had on their
Yes.
way to success. So I think the guidance here really is still be a decent human nonetheless, and accept, you're trying to make wise choices with the information you have available. Things will be up and down. They just will.
Absolutely. And again, it sort of links back to that being the author and protagonist in your life story. I mean, there's that saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And the stories you tell yourself about what you're going through and how it affects you and what it means about you and for you all shape your sense of your own suffering and pain and how you will cope with it, don't they?
Mm.
It's yeah, and sometimes that whole sort of, why me? Why is this happening to me thing comes up. And I saw somewhere the response to the question why me was, well, why not you?
Yeah, yeah,
Which on some levels feels really harsh. Well, I'll give you a list. And then you think, well, yeah, why not me? Who else am I wishing it on?
yeah. The thing is, I
What
use that. I use the flip side of that, Kirsty, for the lottery win. I'm like, why not me? It's going to be someone. Why not me?
not
Well,
me.
to be honest, not the lottery because I don't buy a ticket, but in other
That's a handicap to winning
scenarios
it,
where
yes.
you're when you're looking for the good thing, like someone's going to
Yeah.
benefit from whatever it might be. Why not you if you put your hat in the ring? Or, I mean, in the case I am talking about, you'd have to buy the lottery ticket or whatever. But
You would
we're
probably,
talking,
yes.
if it's going
Yes,
to happen,
yeah, and it's life is all about risks, isn't it? Whether, there's always the risk that something will go badly. There's always the possibility that it would go well.
yeah,
And we tend to call it a risk if we think that something could go wrong, and we call it a possibility when we think it will go well. So, which side are you going to look at? And you're not being singled out because of who you are. It's just the shit happens.
yeah, exactly that, exactly. And which leads us very nicely onto, and it's not disconnected really. It's number five. Everyone else is muddling along and doing their best,
Mm.
having those good days and bad days. So
Yes.
all humans are imperfect, even the ones that seem perfect. Um, People make mistakes, they have regrets, they have wobbles, they have undesired outcomes. I think that's all part of what it is to be human. And I think recognizing
Yes.
that's like you're not the flawed one and everyone else has got it nailed. That is not the case.
Never. No.
Everyone else, they're in. Have you heard everyone talks about, we're all in the same boat. But it's actually, are we all sort of on the same sea, but perhaps in different boats? Do you know what I mean? It's like we've
Yeah.
we've all got different circumstances, different relationships, different support networks, all of those things. But we're all still just trying to navigate through. If the sea is our life, we're all just trying to navigate through it as best as we can. And sometimes you get sucked down a whirlpool. That's how it goes. And other times you'll be the one riding the waves, doing some fantastic moves. That's never me. I don't think. No fantastic moves on a surfboard. No, it's
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing fantastic moves either, but I might be clinging on to something at the top of the wave, going, "Well, hey, what a ride!" Um, in a decidedly inelegant fashion, possibly, but as long as I'm enjoying myself, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, there's the one of the presuppositions of NLP is that we are all doing the best we can with the resources available to us, and it's easy to look back and criticize yourself, but you do that from a position of the knowledge and experience you have gained since that point. At the time, you didn't know what you know now. You didn't have that experience that you now have. You haven't learned what you did from what you're now criticizing yourself for. You know, it's it's just about all of us trying to do our best, and some of that will be shaped by how we've been raised by other people who are trying to do their best and maybe not always getting it right in the way that we would like them to have done. But we still get to choose our response to that.
yeah. So there we go. I think those. To be honest, I think that might be the first five. We might revisit this as a theme because I think there might be more that come up in our idea for guidance for life. But just I'm going to quickly recap them for everybody. So number one was question the rules. Number 2 was you are the author and protagonist in your life story and can shape the next chapter. Number 3 was to be curious. There is more than what you see and what you know. Number 4, there will be bumps in the road, no matter what you do or who you are. And number 5, everyone else is muddling along as well, doing their best, having good and bad days. So we thought a
Hmm.
good question to end this episode would be, if you had to pick one to shape your life, what's the first rule or guideline that comes to mind? And this might be one that you want to take forward that you haven't perhaps considered much, or it might be one that just stands out really obviously for you and you just want to remind yourself of it. Kirsty, I like your response to this.
Well, mine came from the guru that is Dolly Parton, and it's find out who you are and do it on purpose. I mean, when I first saw that quote, was quite mind-blowing, and it's something I just keep coming back to.
Yeah, I can see why. I really like it because it's also it. I think it allows us to recognize that, find out who you are. You might have changed, but you can do that on purpose. A bit like
Mm,
we were saying about shaping the next chapter. You could well be a
yeah,
different person to who you were 5, 10 years ago. You'll certainly be in a different situation and different circumstances.
yeah,
Yes, you're
know
at your
ourselves
core.
differently, understand ourselves differently. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Even though at your core, obviously you're still the same person, but just some things may have changed, but do that on purpose.
yeah,
I love that.
it's
I
stripping out the shoulds there, and I mean, as you just pointed out so beautifully, that's not a static thing. It's around evolution. It's something you can come back to and use in different ways and at different times, which is why it feels like it fits in with the ethos of this episode. That's a constantly evolving sort of guidance when you apply
I think I've chosen something a bit more confusing. Right, as is my
it.
way. I I realized I wanted to say two different things, so I've tried to wrap them into one, which is about saying both yes and also no more. So I think I need to explain myself. I want to
Mm,
be
yeah, but no,
saying
but
yes. Yeah, I know. Yes, but no, but yes, I know. I could go around forever, couldn't I? Um, the yes part was that I think we've joked about this before about spontaneity and fun and about saying yes to that more often and what we both deem to be fun. But I have been trying it a little bit. Like if someone suggests something, just saying yes, okay, let's try that. Unless it's something I really don't want to do. But that leads me on to the second part, which is the no part, which is to, in capital letters, things I don't want. Just being much more conscious about what comes in and I make room for, and what I don't allow to take up all the room. So I can't say yes to
Yes.
those things. So I hope I'm kind of making sense. So saying both yes and no more, which might sound like I've just gone around in a full circle and come back on myself, but it's to the right things.
Maybe it's about saying yes only to what you really want.
Yes, although sadly there are things that I don't want that I still have to say yes to, like the boring has to be done things. So,
Oh, is there a should there? Bit of a rule.
well, things like, go online and pay your bills, that kind of thing. I don't think I can get away with not doing those, Kirsty, even though I don't want to.
True, but then I would argue that one in my head that I do want the bills paid because I do want what I'm paying for.
Yes, all right, well, if you will be reasonable about these things.
Sorry, it won't happen again. That was a one-off. I'm totally out of keeping.
Yes.
And I realise as we answer that question that we've broken our own little rule in not including quotes unless you count the reference to
Oh,
Pirates of the Caribbean at the start. It's kind of breaking our own rules, showing that
it
we are
is. There
only
we go.
using it as guidance.
Yeah, there you go. Guidance for this episode only. So before we disappear down a total rabbit hole, we hope that has been helpful and this may be a topic that we revisit. So do feel free to contact us. Let us know if you think there's a really obvious rule for life that we have missed. And we may revisit this episode again and do another set of rules for life.
Or maybe tell us a rule that you're going to kick into touch.
Oh, yes, I like that. Yeah, maybe we should
Mm.
have one of rules we don't want to follow anymore
Yeah, rules you're going to break. That could be a
because
whole
we are
nother
such
episode.
rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Okay, lovely. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect.
Please visit the show notes for details on how to contact us and for any resources we may have on the topic discussed.
Until next time, keep being imperfectly you. No one does it better.